I'm going to get our meditators to come and sit and listen. Hello, we're now live on YouTube, December 4th. We've just finished the Dhammapada video, so now the rest of this is going to be about, lots of different things, potentially. Maybe some questions, maybe some news, maybe some announcements of our own. But I was thinking, as I was saying, I have 2 meditators now. This is my big news. I have we're now an officially international meditation center, because we have 2 meditators from 2 different countries that are not Canada. We have 1 meditator from Austria and 1 meditator from Finland. Now that's impressive. That's great. So way to go, everyone, to make this a reality. We're not using someone else's meditation center, someone else's monastery. We're not relying on them. We put this together as a community, and we now have 2 meditators. We have 3, actually, if you count Aruna, which we should. He's from Sri Lanka. So we have 3 different countries. On top of that, we had 2 visitors tonight, 1 from Sri Lanka, 1 from Canada. I think Sri Lanka, actually, I think so. Padmali and Sarah came, 2 friends. And they meditated with us. They listened to our chanting and then meditated and then left. But I'm going to make it a point that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they can come up and listen to the Dhammapada. It's useful, right? Then they get a Dhamma talk, something light, to kind of relieve the burden of the heavy meditation. It's nice to have that light counterpoint, some stories, something for them to think about. I have to remember. Remind me, Robin, if you have to ask me next Monday. Are the meditators here? There'll only be 1 then. That 1 woman from Austria is leaving Monday. But he should come listen. The other one. So, do you have any announcements? You were talking about books. The book thing is moving along?
It is, yes. The book project is moving along very well. We are up to $877, which is awesome. That'll make a nice gift for the children's home, because it far exceeds the cost of printing of the booklets. So it's wonderful.
Turn that off.
We do have a couple of questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Just give me 1 minute here.
Sure.
Get something started, and it's better I don't do it. Oh, okay. That's going to take some doing. I'll wait and do it later. Go for questions first.
Okay. Hello, Bhante. I have a question unrelated to meditation. You learned this practice in a part of the world that is tropical. Why, when you move to a much colder environment, would you be constrained to wear the flimsy robe that are plenty in Sri Lanka? It seems to put an unnecessary hardship on the monk and could in fact be lethal.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to wear Sri Lankan robes, it could potentially be lethal. Those robes are like tissue paper. This robe, on the other hand, is quite thick. Could be even thicker. Could be made of wool. And in fact, I have another robe that is thicker and is made of wool and keeps me perfectly warm, even in Canada winter. Canadian winter. No, it's funny. I had this funny sort of conversation with. Remember, I was telling you about this Chinese monk who came to visit the abbot of this monastery in Toronto, good friend.
Yes.
It's funny how we get so stuck on our. It's kind of proud, thinking that not in the sense of thinking we're doing it the right way because he does things differently as a Mahayana monk, and it was kind of a bit of a turnoff. Like I kind of accept it because I've seen it so many times, but it started because he wears special sandals that actually uh, have 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 holes, so they don't go all around, but they cover the soles of the feet and they have a heel, and but they have slots in them. And I was looking at it and I said, well, how do you avoid the snow? Because the snow will get in through those. And he said, well, you be very careful. And he said, but no, I said, so all of monks in your tradition have to wear those? And he said, yes, all year round. That's all you can wear. Yeah, that's all we wear. And he said he sort of said the same thing about the robes. Well, his whole idea of the robes was like it was the same kind of thing. Why do you have to wear that specific type of robe? Why don't you wear robes that are more like lay people in Canada? He didn't question like that, but he was implying. He said, "Oh well, we wear robes that are similar to to people of modern times." Hint, 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 basically. But then I thought, well, what about your dumb sandals? Those sandals are the most impractical things I've ever seen. So, I mean, he may be watching this, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, we're good friends, so I could bring this up. But apologies if it's insulting. But still, he has to answer that, and I'm not afraid to say this to his face. It's just it's can be a little bit tiresome to talk about this, but I think it's a fair criticism. I don't know what my point exactly there was in relation to your question, but the point is really this. This isn't a specific type of thing that monks in Sri Lanka wear because it's in Sri Lanka or because it's in the tropic. There is a very important, non-biased, non-specific, non-culturally based reason for wearing robes. It's the most simple piece of cloth that you can wear. That's defensible, I think. You want to disagree with the importance of that? Well, fine. There's nothing to do with culture. It's because we're wearing 2 rectangles, 3 potentially, but they're perfect rectangles. There's nothing special. We're not allowed sleeves. We're not allowed buttons. The closest thing we have to button is something like a button to keep it. There is something like a button, but it's just pieces of thick thread, thick string that make a button and a loop, but it's still just string. And that's allowed because it helps keep it closed and so on. But that's it. And so that really keeps you, I mean, it keeps you humble, it keeps you focused, that all you have is a rectangle, 2 rectangles. So it's much more about the shape than it is about the thickness or the practicality or so on, because this robe can be just as practical. I've been through the winter in Winnipeg wearing just these kind of robes. And people say, oh no, many monks have given up the robes. Even in the Theravada tradition, they've started to, even make up new ideas, new special uniforms, and the Sri Lankans have their new special uniforms. They don't wear robes. They started to wear shirts. And even monks in Los Angeles have started wearing shirts in the summer, So what's up with that? It's just become easier, and part of it, I think, is this desire to look like everyone else, which is not proper. We're different. We've taken on a vow to be externally different, and it's external. It's not internal. A monk isn't internally different from a layperson. They're still a person. They still have defilements. They still have issues that they have to deal with. but they've taken on an external restraint, constraint. And so to give that up, you're no longer a monk, You're no longer following this tradition. And it's external. It's not the most important thing. I've said many times, being a monk isn't important. But if you're going to do it, it's useful. The external life of a monk is an important system that the Buddha put in place. People say it's just concepts. Well, yeah, but it's the Buddha's concept of what a religious person should be like. They should wear this kind of cloth and so on. They should be limited to cloth. Someone asked me recently, why can't you wear black cloth? I said, what color cloth? I said, well, we can't wear black, for example. Or she said, can you wear black? I said, no, why not? And the answer is because black it could be something of value. This kind of color, the color that we're supposed to be wearing, is kind of pukey color. It's the color that no one would want to wear on purpose, because you want something that's not going to make you think, oh, I have this wonderful, beautiful robe. We have to, when you first get the robe, you have to mark it. I had to mark this before I put it on. I had to mark it with a pen, just as a symbol that it's no longer pure. Keep in my mind the fact that, or to make it clear in my mind that this is a soiled piece of cloth. And so there's many reasons to stick to the way that the Buddha had it. There's nothing to do with this country, that country, hot or cold, because it can be thick. And so this argument that you can't wear these robes because they're too thin, you have to switch to wearing coats, is ridiculous, because I can put on my thick robe and walk through a snowstorm, minus 20, minus 30 I was in Winnipeg, walking down the street. It was cold, but so was everyone else. And perfectly livable. Not terribly comfortable, but that's normal. So, I don't know. It's not a meditation question. I apologize for going on about it, but it's important in that sense from a monastic point of view, looking at it as a monastic. My teachers commented on this. I remember there was a Mahayana monk came to visit us who wore pants, and under his robe he wore pants. And Ajahn Tong kind of looked at him and said, "This is the end of the robes." The end of the robes means we have a prophecy that eventually Buddhism is going, of course, to disappear from the world, and the last sign is when the robes disappear, when there's nobody, living even the external life anymore. The internal life will disappear first, but the very final sign that Buddhism has disappeared is when people stop wearing robes. So it's a bad sign when the monks have already, even in the Theravada tradition, have already sort of put aside the importance of the robes. They put aside the importance of the bowl. There's much less going on alms round. In Sri Lanka, very few monks go on alms round, which is a shame. Especially when Sri Lankan people are so happy to give alms. And we would get poor people would give what they had, but that people would give a piece of, portion of their food was just quite impressive. It's a great spiritual sort of practice to go through the village. Anyway, hope that answers your question.
I would like to understand why it is improper to eat afternoon. Thank you so much.
Well, it's not about afternoon per se. It's about eating enough just to survive. So you could argue, well, why not? What's wrong with eating at 1 p.m.? But I think the deal is, what do you need to survive, and what's the most important, what's essential and what's unessential? And so eating in the afternoon isn't really all that essential because you're not going to put it to much use. Eating in the morning, however, is essential because you need it to get you through the day, through all the work that you have to do. Even if that work is just meditating. It works actually quite perfectly, especially when you have the Buddha's allowance to have juice in the afternoon, pure strained juice without any pulp or fruit in it. It's just enough. You have a good meal in the morning, and then in the afternoon when you start to get a little tired, you have some juice, and the sugar in the juice perks you up just enough to continue through the afternoon and into the evening, and then tide you over until morning. So it's just more about parsing it down to the bare minimum, so you don't have to worry about food, so you don't have to get involved with storing food and so on. I mean, imagine if we ate in the evening, then it would be about storing food or going out for food again. Really cuts into your meditation practice.
Hello, Bante. In my home, my mom does not believe in Buddhism. I cannot practice sitting and walking meditation at all. Perhaps should I put it in my daily routine? I think they're asking what their daily routine should be if they're not allowed to practice sitting and walking meditation.
You can't tell me you're not allowed to sit down. You could sit down and close your eyes, sit in a chair. You don't have to make it look like you're meditating. Maybe you can't do walking meditation. Well, then just go for a walk outside or something. It's really quite a sad state, and it's something that you really probably want to work at. Send your mom loving kindness. Send your mom good thoughts. May she be happy. May she be well. May she be free from suffering. Do that after your meditation. But absolutely, just close your eyes and meditate. At the same time, yes, incorporate it into your daily life. But I also would recommend sending love to your mother, wishing her to be happy and free, because that'll break up that horrible, horrible mind state that wants to prevent you from meditating, it sounds like. Because it's not important that she believes in it. The question is whether she allows you to do walking and sitting, which seems pretty innocuous to me.
And with that, we are caught up on questions.
And with that, it's 10 p.m., so we've done an hour. It's a good time to stop. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Robin, for helping.
Thank you, Bante.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
Good night.